Tu es sauvé ma tribu, je t'offre ma fille pour épouse, déclara l'Aîné Apache. He had been walking for many days, moving without a clear destination, following only the land and his need to survive. His clothes were worn, his boots cracked, and dust covered his face. Still, his eyes were calm. He was a man used to hardship. Below the valley, smoke rose gently into the morning air. It was not the smoke of fire or danger, but thin lines from cooking fires. The stranger knew what that meant. A tribe lived there. He also knew that this land belonged to the Apache people. Many travelers avoided such places, afraid of being seen as intruders. The stranger felt that fear too, but hunger and exhaustion pushed him forward. He did not walk straight toward the camp. Instead, he moved slowly along the rocks, making sure his presence would not seem threatening. He carried no raised weapon, only a small pack and a walking stick. When he finally stepped into open ground, a few figures noticed him. He stopped again, showing his empty hands. He waited. Within moments, several Apache men appeared, alert but controlled. They watched him closely. The stranger bowed his head slightly, a sign of respect he had learned from other lands. He did not speak. He knew that silence could sometimes say more than words. One of the men spoke briefly, his tone firm but not angry. The stranger did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Slowly, the stranger pointed to his mouth, then to his stomach. He mimed drinking water. He then placed his hand over his heart and nodded, hoping they would understand that he meant no harm. The men looked at one another. After a moment, one of them gestured for him to follow. Relief washed over the stranger, though he kept his movements careful. He followed them into the camp. The Apache village was quiet but alive. Children moved between shelters. Women prepared food. Elders sat near the fires, watching everything with sharp eyes. The stranger felt those eyes on him as he walked. He knew that trust here would not come easily. They gave him water first. He drank slowly, not wanting to appear desperate. Then they offered him simple food. He accepted with gratitude, lowering his head again. He did not eat much, only enough to show respect. As the day passed, it became clear that something was wrong in the village. The stranger noticed tired faces, bandaged arms, and people walking with pain. He saw one young boy lying near a shelter, breathing weakly, his skin hot with fever. Nearby, an older woman coughed endlessly, her body thin and fragile. The stranger had seen this before. Illness, hunger. Trouble that came quietly and stayed too long. He reached into his pack and pulled out small bundles of dried plants. He hesitated, then gently gestured toward the sick boy, asking permission. The child's mother looked uncertain, then glanced toward an elder. The elder studied the stranger for a long moment. Finally, he nodded once. The stranger knelt beside the boy. He crushed the plants between stones, mixing them with water to create a bitter drink. Slowly, carefully, he helped the boy swallow it. He then cooled the boy's forehead and stayed nearby, watching his breathing. Word spread quickly through the camp. The stranger knew ways to help. He knew plants. He knew patience. Over the next days, he did not rest much. He helped wherever he was allowed. He gathered firewood with the men, repaired broken tools, and helped hunt small game. He showed them how to trap animals without wasting energy. He shared what little knowledge he had, never acting like a teacher, only a helper. At night, he sat alone near the fire, listening to the sounds of the land. He thought of the life he had left behind, of roads traveled and mistakes made. He did not speak of his past. Here only actions mattered. Slowly, small changes appeared. The boy's fever lowered. The old woman breathed more easily. Food became more stable as hunting improved. The people noticed. Still, not everyone trusted him. Some warriors watched him closely, hands never far from their weapons. The stranger understood. Trust was earned, not given. One evening, a sudden shout broke the calm. A hunting group had not returned. Tension spread through the camp like wind before a storm. The elders gathered, voices low but serious. The stranger listened from a distance. He noticed signs others had missed, tracks near the river, broken branches. He realized the hunters had gone too far into dangerous ground where animals often attacked when cornered. Without speaking, he picked up his walking stick and moved toward the elders. He pointed to the hills, then to the river, then mimed an animal's attack. One of the elders narrowed his eyes, understanding slowly. The elder spoke to the warriors. A small group prepared to leave. Before anyone could stop him, the stranger stepped forward and joined them. Some objected, but the elder raised his hand. He allowed it. They moved quickly through the land. The stranger led them to the river bend, where signs of struggle were clear. One hunter lay injured, unable to move. Nearby, danger still lingered. The stranger acted without hesitation. He distracted the threat, drawing attention to himself, allowing the warriors to move safely. He was not reckless but brave. He knew fear, yet he moved anyway. When it was over, the injured hunter was saved. The group returned to the village as the sun fell low in the sky. That night the camp was silent, heavy with thought. The elders spoke long into the darkness. They talked about the stranger who had arrived with nothing, who had taken nothing, and who had risked himself for people who were not his own. The stranger sat alone again, unaware of the weight his actions now carried. He only knew that for the first time in a long while, he felt he was exactly where he needed to be. This was only the beginning. The morning after the rescue felt different in the Apache camp. The air was the same, the land unchanged, yet something unseen had shifted. People moved with quieter steps, their eyes following the stranger more openly now. He noticed it, but he did not let it change his behavior. He still rose early, still helped without asking, still spoke little. He believed respect grew best when left alone. The injured hunter slowly recovered. Each day the stranger checked his wound, cleaning it carefully and changing the binding. He showed the man how to sit, how to breathe slowly, how to let the body heal without strain. The hunter listened closely. Gratitude showed in his eyes more than words ever could. As days passed, the stranger learned more about the rhythm of the tribe. He learned when to stay back and when to step forward. He learned the signs in the sky, the warning calls of birds, and the way the elders spoke through silence as much as speech. In return, the people learned about him through his actions. They saw that he never took more food than needed. He never pushed his ideas. He never acted superior. One afternoon, a strong wind rose suddenly, bringing dark clouds with it. The land had been dry for too long, and the first rain brought both relief and danger. Water rushed down from the hills, cutting paths through the ground. Some shelters stood too close to the lowland. Children ran, confused and frightened. The stranger reacted quickly. He called out in simple sounds and gestures, pointing toward higher ground. He grabbed poles and helped lift shelters where possible. Others followed his lead. Together, they worked under heavy rain, pulling, tying, moving, saving what they could. An elderly man slipped in the mud. Without thinking, the stranger caught him, holding his weight until others arrived. His arms shook with effort, but he did not let go. When the storm finally passed, much was damaged, but lives were safe. That evening, fires burned again. Wet clothes dried, food was shared. Laughter returned slowly, softly. The stranger sat near the edge of the firelight, exhausted but calm. An elder approached him. This elder had watched him since the first day, speaking little, observing everything. He sat beside the stranger and handed him a warm drink. They did not speak at first. They did not need to. Finally, the elder spoke in broken words the stranger could partly understand. He spoke of the land, of hardship, of balance. The stranger listened carefully, nodding when he understood. When he did not, he remained silent. That honesty mattered. Over time, more elders spoke with him. They asked about his skills, his travels, his reasons for walking alone. The stranger shared only what mattered. He spoke of learning from different lands, of losing people he cared for, of choosing to walk instead of staying broken. He did not speak of anger or blame. He spoke of learning. Trust does not arrive suddenly. It grows quietly like roots beneath the ground. And that is how it grew between the stranger and the Apache people. Then came a deeper test. One night the dogs barked sharply. The sound cut through sleep like a blade. Warriors rose quickly. The stranger woke at once, alert. Something was wrong. The land was too quiet. A hunting group had returned late, running low on supplies. On their way back they had been followed, not by people but by a danger that moved with hunger and patience. It stayed just beyond the firelight, waiting. Fear spread fast, but panic did not. The elders gathered, voices low and controlled. The stranger stood nearby, listening. The danger would not leave easily. If it stayed, it would threaten the camp for days, maybe longer. Children would be at risk. Hunting would stop. Fear would settle in. Some warriors wanted to chase it away immediately. Others warned that acting too fast could bring harm. The stranger stepped forward slowly. He pointed toward the hills and then toward the fire. He mimed light, sound, and movement, suggesting a way to guide the danger away rather than confront it directly. The elders considered his idea. It was risky but thoughtful. It showed understanding of nature, not dominance over it. They agreed. That night, a plan formed. Fires were lit in a wide pattern, not to trap but to lead. Sounds were made, not of challenge but of presence. The stranger walked with the warriors, not in front, not behind, but among them. At one point the danger moved closer than expected. The stranger stood his ground, raising his arms slowly to appear larger, steady, not aggressive. His heart pounded, but his face remained calm. The warriors followed his example. After long, tense hours, the danger moved away, guided by light and sound, choosing distance over struggle. When morning came, the camp stood untouched. Exhaustion filled everyone, but so did relief. Children played again. Women prepared food without fear. The elders gathered once more. This time they spoke openly of the stranger. They spoke of how he thought before acting, how he protected without seeking praise, how he respected their ways while offering his own knowledge. One elder said something that made others nod. He does not take from the tribe. He gives himself. The eldest among them spoke. His voice was calm, deep, shaped by many years. He spoke of survival, of how every generation faced its own trials. He spoke of how sometimes help came from unexpected paths. He thanked the stranger, not loudly, not with ceremony, but with sincerity. The stranger bowed his head. He felt something tight in his chest, something close to emotion he had not allowed himself to feel in a long time. From that day on, his place in the camp changed. He was no longer watched like a question. He was watched like a responsibility. Children followed him, curious. Hunters asked his opinion. Elders listened when he spoke. Yet with acceptance came weight. The stranger understood that belonging meant duty. He could not leave easily now. His actions had tied him to these people, and for the first time the idea did not feel like a burden. One evening, as the sky turned orange and purple, he noticed the elder's daughter watching from a distance. She was not shy but observant, strong in posture, calm in expression. She helped others, spoke when needed, listened more than she spoke. Their eyes met briefly. She nodded once respectfully. He returned the nod. It was a small moment, but in a place where every action carried meaning, it mattered. The land had tested the stranger. The people had tested him too, and without realizing it, he had passed into something deeper than safety. He had earned trust through sacrifice, patience, and respect. What remained was a decision that would change all their lives. The days that followed were calm on the surface, but deep inside the camp, change was quietly growing. The stranger felt it in the way people spoke to him now, not with caution but with expectation. He felt it in the pauses before elders asked his thoughts, and in the way children copied how he walked or worked. He was no longer just a guest. He had become part of the daily life of the tribe. Yet this new closeness brought questions to his heart. He had spent years walking alone, carrying only his past and his skills. Belonging had never been his goal. It had simply found him. One morning, the eldest elder called for a council. This was not unusual, but the way the message spread felt heavier than usual. People gathered quietly, sitting in a wide circle. The stranger stood at the edge at first, unsure if he should step forward. A gesture from one of the elders invited him closer. The elder who had watched him since the beginning spoke first. His voice was steady, carrying respect earned over many seasons. He spoke of the past weeks, of danger faced and overcome, of lives protected. He spoke of how the tribe had survived because people stood together. Then he spoke of tradition. In times of great change, the Apache people did not only thank helpers with words, they honored them by tying them to the future. To protect the tribe was not just to save lives today, but to protect generations yet to come. The stranger listened, his expression calm but his mind racing. He sensed the importance of the moment, though he did not yet understand where it was leading. The elder continued, speaking of trust. Trust was rare, trust was precious, and trust, once given, was never taken lightly. Finally, the elder turned toward him directly. "You came as a stranger," he said slowly. "You stayed as a helper. You stood as one of us when danger came." He offered the stranger a bond with the tribe, a bond stronger than protection or gratitude. He offered him family. The meaning settled slowly over the circle. The elder's daughter stepped forward then, standing with quiet strength. She did not lower her eyes. She did not smile. She stood as someone who understood responsibility, not as someone being given away. The stranger felt the world narrow to that single moment. He had crossed rivers, survived storms, faced danger without fear. Yet now his heart felt unsteady. This was not a prize. This was not a gift without cost. This was a life-changing path. The elder made one thing clear. The choice was not only his, it belonged to both of them. The daughter spoke then, her voice calm and steady. She spoke of the tribe, of duty, of how every choice shaped the future. She said she had watched the stranger from the first days. She had seen his patience, his respect, his care for the weak. She said she would not fear a life built on those qualities. The stranger took a long breath. He spoke carefully, choosing simple words, words that carried truth. He said he honored the tribe. He honored their trust. He said he had lived a life without roots for too long and that perhaps the land had led him here for a reason. But he did not rush his answer. He asked for time. The elders respected this. True choices were never forced. They allowed him until the next sunrise. That night, sleep did not come easily. The stranger walked alone beyond the firelight, listening to the land. He thought of the roads behind him, of faces he had lost, of the freedom he once believed he needed. He asked himself if he was ready to stay, to protect not just lives but a future. Before dawn, he returned to the camp. He sat near the fire where the elder waited, as if he had known the stranger would come. The stranger spoke with certainty now. He accepted the bond. Not as a reward, but as a responsibility. The elder nodded slowly. The decision was made. The days that followed were filled with preparation, not celebration. This was not an event of loud joy, but of careful planning. Elders taught the stranger more deeply about customs, about promises, about the weight of being tied to the tribe's future. He listened closely, learning not just rules but meaning. The daughter walked beside him often during these days. They spoke simply at first about daily tasks, about the land, about small things. Slowly, deeper understanding grew. They learned each other's silences, each other's strengths. Respect came before affection and trust before closeness. The tribe watched, quietly approving. Yet not everyone was fully at peace. One warrior, strong and proud, questioned the decision. He believed that no outsider, no matter how helpful, should be tied so closely to the tribe. His words were not loud, but they spread unease. The stranger became aware of this tension. Instead of confronting it, he chose patience. He continued to work beside the warriors, sharing hardship, never avoiding difficulty. When disputes arose, he listened more than he spoke. One day, while hunting, danger struck again. A sudden threat caught the group off guard. In the chaos, the warrior who doubted him was injured, unable to stand. Without hesitation, the stranger moved to protect him, placing himself between the injured man and harm. He acted with calm focus, guiding the others to safety. Later, as the injured warrior recovered, he looked at the stranger with new eyes. No words were needed. Doubt faded where action had spoken. The tribe grew stronger through unity. As the chosen day approached, the camp felt balanced. The land was calm, the people were steady. The elder's daughter stood confidently, ready to step into her role not just as a partner but as a bridge between past and future. The stranger understood now that saving the tribe had not ended with danger passing. It had led him to something greater. He had not only protected lives, he had become part of them. The final step was still ahead, and it would bind two paths into one. The morning arrived quietly, as if the land itself wished to honor the moment. A soft light spread across the valley, touching the shelters, the trees, and the faces of the people as they rose. There was no rush, no loud call. Everyone knew what this day meant. The stranger woke before the others. He stepped outside and breathed in the cool air. For the first time in many years, he did not feel the pull of the road ahead. Instead, he felt steady, grounded. He looked toward the distant hills and silently thanked the path that had led him here. In the center of the camp, elders began preparing a small gathering space. It was simple, just as their ways were. No decorations, no display. What mattered was meaning, not appearance. The elder's daughter joined the women early. She moved with calm focus, helping where needed. There was no fear in her movements, only readiness. She understood that this day was not about being admired. It was about stepping into responsibility. The stranger worked with the men, setting stones, carrying water, preparing food. No one treated him as separate now. He was one of them. When the sun reached its highest point, the people gathered. Children sat quietly. Warriors stood in respectful silence. Elders formed a small circle. The air felt still but not heavy. The eldest elder stepped forward. His voice was gentle, yet it carried clearly. He spoke of the land, of how it had seen many lives pass. He spoke of how survival depended on unity, respect, and balance. He reminded everyone that strength was not only found in arms but in choices made with care. He then spoke of the stranger. He did not list heroic acts. He spoke instead of character, of patience, of humility, of someone who protected without demanding praise. Then he spoke of his daughter. He spoke of her wisdom, her strength, her understanding of duty. He spoke of how she had grown not to serve herself but her people. The two stood facing one another. The elder asked each of them to speak. The stranger stepped forward first. His voice was steady, though his heart beat fast. He spoke in simple words. He said he had arrived with nothing but his skills and his will to survive. He said he had found more than safety here. He had found purpose. He promised to protect the tribe, to respect its ways, and to walk the land with care. He did not promise perfection. He promised effort, honesty, and loyalty. Then the daughter spoke. She spoke with quiet strength. She said she accepted the bond not because it was offered, but because she believed in it. She said she had seen the stranger choose others over himself again and again. She promised to stand beside him, to guide when needed, and to carry the tribe's future with care. The elder nodded. The circle felt complete. There was no loud celebration. Instead, food was shared. Stories were told. Laughter returned naturally. Children played nearby, unaware that history had just shifted gently beneath their feet. As the day passed, the stranger felt something new settle in his chest. Not pride, not relief, belonging. In the days that followed, life continued. The tribe hunted, gathered, repaired, planned. But something had changed. Decisions were shared more openly. The stranger was now asked not just for help, but for guidance. He gave it carefully, always respecting tradition. The elder's daughter walked beside him as an equal. Together they worked, learned, and planned. They spoke of seasons ahead, of challenges yet unseen. They did not rush closeness. Trust deepened naturally. One evening, as the sun dipped low, the elder sat with them. He looked at the two and smiled faintly. "You did not save us once," he said. "You chose us every day after." From time to time, travelers passed near the valley. Some stayed briefly. Some moved on. When they asked about the stranger, the people did not call him an outsider anymore. They called him family. The man who once walked alone now stood rooted in the land. And when he looked toward the horizon, he no longer wondered where the road would take him. He already knew.